The small forward position has had some of the greatest NBA players of all time, and players from all different eras have made the small forward one of the most well-known in basketball. But which ones are the best? To answer that, in this video, I'm going to be giving my list for the top 10 greatest small forwards in NBA history. At number 10 is Carmelo Anthony, a player who before I made this list, I did not think I would consider a top 10 small forward ever, but it was between Melo and Dominique Wilkins, and when comparing their careers and achievements and them as players, I gotta give the edge to Melo. He is considered to be one of the best scorers of all time, playing for the Denver Nuggets and the New York Knicks in his prime. He was an amazing three-point shooter and a shooter in general, but there were a lot of marks in his career that still hold him back today. He was never able to win a championship, and he had a pretty rough end to his career, bouncing from team to team, and even almost being out of the league at one point. But for how skilled he was and the success he had individually, he made the list. Number 9 is Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce, after retirement, has become a player that a lot of people just like to make fun of, and nobody really even takes him serious anymore. But Paul Pierce had a legendary career, and we should all definitely be giving him his flowers. He won a championship and a finals MVP in 2008, and being the best player on a team like that in the 08 Celtics is very impressive. He was a top player in the league for over a decade, and one of the most clutch NBA players ever. The amount of games he ended with a buzzer beater or a game-defying shot is enough to make a compilation out of it. I get that he says crazy stuff in retirement like he's better than Dwayne Wade, and things like he did in his career like faking an injury to use the bathroom in the finals definitely does not help his case, but he deserves to be here. At number 8, I've got John Havlicek. John Havlicek was a part of those dominant Boston Celtic teams from the 60s with Bill Russell that dominated for over a decade, and while these were clearly Bill Russell's teams, and John was clearly the third best player behind Bob Cousy, he did win a finals MVP in 1974. But the biggest reason I have him ranked over people like Pierce and Melo is because the guy's got 8 championships. And being a part of 8 championships is just insane. I know it's unfair because it's not in his control, but he did play in a much weaker era than a lot of other people here, which is something that you've got to take into account. The 60s and 70s were just not as good as today or any of the decades after, which is why he's only number 8, but greatness is greatness. Number 7 is Elgin Baylor. Another older player, but somebody who has gotten very underrated across NBA fans today. He was teammates with Jerry West for a big majority of his career on the Lakers, but his resume may make you question why I put him over John Havlicek. The biggest being the fact that Elgin Baylor never won a championship in his career. But it is a team game, and if we are just comparing the two as players, I'm definitely taking Elgin Baylor. He was an amazing scorer for years and holds the record for the most points scored in a finals game with 61. It's unfortunate that his achievements don't reflect how great he was in his prime, but he still deserves this number 7 spot. At number 6 is Kawhi Leonard. Alright, enough of the old players, now we got a current guy. Kawhi is still in the NBA today, and there's a chance that he goes and wins another ring and ranks even higher, but I'm ranking this as if everybody retired today, where would they be ranked? And I can confidently say I put Kawhi at number 6. After 2 finals MVPs and possibly the greatest finals run of all time, he may not have had the most consistent span of greatness, but his highest highs really make up for his lowest lows. He's always been a great scorer, but his defense is really where he shines the most, and surprisingly, he's actually gotten a lot of player comparisons to Michael Jordan. As an NBA fan today, it's frustrating watching the amount of games he misses, and even when he sits out for as long as he does, he still doesn't win in the playoffs. And sometimes I genuinely forget he's still in the NBA, and if he had been spending his career putting in the time and building up his resume even more, I could see him being a top 5 small forward ever. But right now, today, I've got him at number 6. At number 5 is Scotty Pippen. The guy known as Michael Jordan's sidekick, Scottie Pippen had a great career that's overshadowed by Michael Jordan, but Jordan definitely would not have those 6 championships without Pippen. Pippen was an all-time great defender and a pretty good scorer, and even after Michael Jordan retired, Pippen led the Blazers to a conference finals in 2000. 6-0 in the finals and 6 championships is about as good as you can ask for. But talent-wise, there's still a lot of players ahead of him. Number 4 is Julius Irving. Dr. J was a very influential player to people like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, and he was the first real flashy player who could pull off crazy dunks and shots like he did and still be great. A lot of his career was spent in the ABA before the merger, so he didn't really spend his prime years in the NBA, but he still had a lot of success. He won 1 championship and finals MVP with the Sixers in 1983 and made it to a few other finals with them. And he won the league MVP in 1981. He also won 2 championships with the ABA, and he's known as one of the best dunkers ever. He was a true pioneer and a very skilled player, and he played in an era with a lot of tough competition and still exceeded. Number 3 is Larry Bird. There's a lot of people that have Larry a spot higher as the second greatest small forward of all time, and although he had an amazing career, I've still got 2 people over him. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson were 2 players that basically saved the NBA from going broke in the 80s, and he won 3 championships in his career, 3 league MVPs, and multiple all-defensive team selections. Larry Bird was an exceptional player from both sides of the ball. He was an unstoppable scorer and passer, and just watching his highlights, you can see how talented he was. But his career did end prematurely, as he would suffer a lot of back injuries and he'd have to hang it up sooner than expected. But the career and the legacy he left behind is unmatched by a lot of people. At number 2, I've got Kevin Durant. Now, me personally, I have KD over Bird all time, but I can see both arguments. You could argue Larry accomplished more with less in less time, but KD as a player, I really don't think there's an argument. KD is close to 7 feet tall, dribbling around and crossing people up like a point guard, and has a real argument for being the greatest scorer ever. And accolade wise, I know people really don't like those Warriors championships, but he still won the title 2 times and 2 finals MVPs. And before the Warriors, he led OKC to the finals in 2012. And he's had very underrated defense throughout his career as well. It's hard comparing players from different eras just because it's such a different time, but in my opinion, KD has had the more difficult competition and accomplished close to the same amount as Larry did. But with those 2 out of the way, this pick is absolutely undeniable. At number 1, LeBron James. You can switch around pretty much everybody else on this list and make the argument for it, besides LeBron. Potentially the greatest NBA player of all time, and a player that's consistently been great longer than anybody else has ever. A 4-time champion, a 4-time finals MVP, 10 finals appearances, a 19-time, about to be 20-time All-Star, a scoring champion, multiple-time All-Defense selections, and the NBA's all-time leading scorer. There's not much you can say about LeBron that hasn't already been said, and the space between him and everybody else on this list is a very big gap. But that concludes my list for the top 10 greatest small forwards of all time. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But that's all I've got for today. Thank you all for watching. And with that being said, I'm out of here, and I'll see you on the next one.